Now, why is it that Hashem has to punish us, but not right away usually? The Gemara says that originally when HaKadosh Baruch Hu created the world, He created the world with midat aydin, with judgment only. But He saw that if He creates the world with just judgment, the world would not survive because people will sin. And since Hashem knows the future, He knows His creation, He knows that the world will not survive. And therefore, there's no point. There's no point to the creation. So He created He instilled into the world midat chesed, kindness. What is kindness? Giving you the opportunity to do tshuva by giving you more time and not punishing you right away. Because if He punished people right away, or even within a specific time frame, let's say every time somebody smoked on Shabbat, their head would blow up. After the first time, people will think it's an accident. By the second time, people will start getting worried. By the third time, all smoking around the world is banned. All year round. Why? Because now you know that's what happens. You smoke cigarettes on Shabbat, your heads blow up. So that removes free choice. But even if Hashem would have punished people exactly after a week, or exactly after a year, that still manipulates their free choice. So Hashem instilled midat ad-din and midat chesed, kindness, but also judgment. Because He wants you to know that punishment is something that He could put into the world at any moment, but He will give you time. He will give you opportunities. No one dies without being given the opportunity to do tshuva. So then you could ask the question of, what about young kids that haven't sinned? How does a 3-year-old baby or a 5-year-old kid or a 2-month or a 2-day-old kid, how does he sin and die? Who says that he had to sin right now? This person, as we said, this person has been in the world today. His soul has reincarnated, has been here several times. No one has been here only once. There's no new souls really anymore. There's very, very few random perfect souls that exist in the world in each generation. But generally speaking, the vast majority of the world are old souls that have sinned in the past and have returned and reincarnated in order to fix their previous mistakes. Sometimes that previous mistake is an abortion. The guy was overly righteous, but when he was 16, 17 years old, he told his wife-to-be, but that was a girlfriend at that time, to have an abortion. But after that he did tshuva. Okay, he did tshuva, good for you, but the tshuva for the abortion wasn't completed. He has to come back as what? As an abortion. He has to come back as an abortion. Anyone that wants to know what that looks like, I'll send you some videos. It's not fun. So anyone that made that mistake of having an abortion should do serious tshuva. What's tshuva for abortion? The same as it is for all other sins. Number 1, learn about the sin. Number 2, regret the sin. Cry over it a little bit. Number 3, make sure to never ever do it again. Number 4, get other people to do tshuva and get closer to Hashem so they don't make the same mistakes you did. Meaning kiruv. Help people do tshuva. That's what we learned from the prophet Yechezkel, the prophet Jeremiah. Several prophets talk about the obligation to do kiruv. The prophet Jeremiah talks about in chapter 15, verse 19. Talks about whoever helps a person do tshuva, his prayers will become like Hashem's prayers. Meaning that his word will become like Hashem's word. Im totzi akar mizolel kepi tiyeh. If you bring a luggard and turn him into someone precious, you help somebody do tshuva, you'll become like me. You'll become like my mouth, Hashem says. Same thing goes with the prophet Yechezkel and so on. So the point is, somebody made a mistake, no problem, you can do tshuva for it. But if you don't do tshuva for it, you have to be reincarnated. And sometimes it's only for 1 thing, or 2 things, or 3 things. What about the parents? How come the parents deserve, let's say for example, some kid is born, and he dies, is a still life baby, he dies literally, born a dead baby. Shem Yachem. Or perhaps worse yet, one of these tragic stories where the kid dies at 2, 3 years old. Like almost happened to a couple in Long Island a few years ago. 2-year-old kid falls into the family pool and the babysitter falls asleep. The babysitter falls asleep. And the kid drowns. A few minutes underwater. 100% dead. All the medical people said, that much time, brain dead. Even if they revive him, it'll be brain damage forever. At the moment, the rega shel emet, when his mom saw this, took out the baby. Actually, the neighbor jumped the fence. The neighbor never came to the house. It was a vacation house. Miracle, the story. The neighbor never came to this house. It was like a vacation house. He happened to be in his house that day, saw that there's a baby floating, jumped the fence, saved the baby, but the baby's dead. The mom comes out screaming. She sees the kid's dead, 100% dead. There's no maybe. Kid's been underwater. They have the camera. The video of the whole thing, the kid was underwater for several minutes. I think it was like 3 or 6 minutes. Something obnoxious. Something that finished. Moment of truth. The mother screams to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I'm going to put kisui rosh on. I'm going to put a kisui rosh on. Suddenly, kid comes to life. No brain damage, nothing. Perfect baby. Grew up already. This story is available online. You can find it on the internet. You can find the story on the internet. It's a 100% true story. I don't know what happened with the couple, with the mom, with the kid, or anything else. I know that this story happened a few years ago. Point is, Rabotai Karim, is that Kadosh Baruch Hu could change nature. He created nature. He is nature. And one of the ways that Kadosh Baruch Hu can change nature for you is if you take on more Torah, if you do more mitzvot, and most importantly, if you help other people do tshuva. So, reincarnation does exist, and it's one of the ways that HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives people an opportunity to fix their past. Sometimes when someone has a tragic story like that, it's not even for a sin they made in this life. It's for something they made in their previous life. For something they did in their previous life. So that Hashem determines with His measure for measure judgment that this person deserves this damage. Even though it's painful, even though people hate to talk about it, people hate to admit it, and some people hate the mystical aspects of the Torah because of it, because they don't realize that how important this is. The reality is, this reincarnation is one of the best proofs of Hashem's mercy. It's actually one of the best proofs of Hashem's mercy. Most people that go against the Torah and don't like reincarnation, don't like Gilgulim, that for example somebody is born blind because they used to watch pornography. People don't like to hear that. You look at Sharei Gilgulim, the Arizal Sharei Gilgulim, that's what he says. Somebody's born as a plant. Why? Because they made certain sins. He has to spend a generation, 2 generations, 3 generations as a tree, or as a cow, or as a flower, or as a tomato until somebody eats him. With a bracha too though. Why? Because he made certain sins. People that haven't learned this part of the Torah hate it. Why? Because they think, what? What's this kid do? He's born blind and because he watched some porno. What, are you crazy? You guys are crazy. What, this kid is born autistic because of this. You guys are vicious. No, it's the opposite. If you don't believe in reincarnation, you are actually a vicious person. And you believe that Hashem is vicious. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, anyone that understands reward and punishment, knows that there's no free lunch with Hashem. There's no free lunch. Now, if HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives you the option, either go, you now, let's say for example, you didn't watch your eyes. You could either go to Gehenom for a few thousand years, and in Gehenom, the angels are going to be designated just for you, with special tools to remove your eyes and put them back and forth over and over again in very, very slow and steady fashion. And it hurts 60 times more than this world. Or you could just go into this life, live for 30 years, blind. What's easier? Which one do you want? Who picks to go to Gehenom? Who? Meaning that if a person comes to this world with something like this is not only an indication of Hashem's mercy, but it's actually also an indication that this person is a special righteous neshama. An autistic kid that comes to this world, a blind kid that comes to this world, is actually a very precious neshama. Why? Because Hashem is telling you outright, that's the only thing He's got to fix. You, on the other hand, that you're perfect, Baruch Hashem, and healthy, how much you have to fix. That's what an autistic kid in Eretz Yisrael that was connected to a computer to communicate to his family, that's what he told his family. They told him, are you in pain? He says, yeah, I'm in a lot of pain. He says, why are you in pain? He says, because I made a lot of sins in my previous life. There's also a video on YouTube. It has I believe it has subtitles in English. He goes, what'd you do? He said, I said Lashon Hara, so I had to come back autistic. He says, why, are you in pain? Yeah, I'm in pain. We feel, wow, it must feel terrible. He goes, no, I feel bad for you people. He goes, don't feel bad for me. I feel bad for you. Now this is his brother and sister he's telling you this. They're perfectly healthy. Baruch Hashem. He says, why do you feel bad for us? He says, because me, this is the only thing I have to fix and then I'm going to heaven. You guys have a long way to go to fix. I got one thing to fix. I just got to live a certain amount of time in this world and I'm done. So in order to not allow me to make certain sins, Hashem made me this way to live a certain amount of time. Usually those people don't live very long lives. Certain amount of time, I finish my sentence, I go to Gan Eden. How much you have left to do? And you can still make sins. Hashem almost removed this free choice. So this exists in the world. There's actually an entire website that a certain autistic kid that communicated through computer wrote. His father would write entire conversations that he would have. Talked about Gehenom, talked about Mashiach, talked about all the mitzvot of the Torah, all types of things. These are special neshamot. They don't talk like you and me. They communicate different ways. But the point is that they found ways to communicate with them, and you'll see that they will always tell you that them being this way is actually an act of mercy from Hashem. It's an act of mercy from Hashem. But people that don't want to believe this, because they like this world, and they feel bad for those people, instead of realizing that this body is simply clothing. Temporary clothing. Temporary clothing that gets old, even if you don't want it to. Even if you take care of it. It still gets old. You could iron it as much as you want. It's still going to get old.